Good afternoon and welcome to today's Facebook Live. My name's Jenny McCormack. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator and I'm based in Brackley in the UK. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today is the second in our series of Hidden Gems. And that is items in our annual and our mini catalogue that you might have missed, or maybe you're not sure what they do. So this week's sessions are designed to help you understand a little bit better what those items are, perhaps introduce you to an item that you've not seen in the catalogue before. And to go through something that you may have in your stash already and completely forgotten about, which is quite common, especially if it's not on show. If it's tucked away in a drawer or in a pencil case, there's a reasonable chance you'll forget that you've got it until you need to do something with that particular product. So let me see if anybody has joined us yet. Doesn't look like it, but it does take a little while for these to filter through. So let me talk to you about blender pens. Now actually you could easily miss them in our annual catalogue. This is on page 146. And it'd be quite easy not to see them because there's so much on these two pages, actually 146 and 147, that it's quite difficult to see anyway. So the blender pens are number 14, tucked right down at the bottom here. And it's quite misleading because it just shows a pen with an image that's been coloured in, and the description actually says dual tip pens filled with specialised solution for easier blending. That's exactly what it is. Used with whisper white cardstock or shimmery white cardstock and classic stamping ink. You get 3 pens in a pack and they're £11.25 for the pack of 3. Hi Carol, hi Tracy. So let me show you what they look like. So this is how they come. They come as a pack of 3. The hardest thing is actually getting into the packet. This is a really tough little packet. And this is a brand new packet. So they're rather like our Stampin' Right markers, but they have a clear solution inside, and there are 2 tips, and these are exactly the same tips. You can see that one and that one. So the idea is that you could have 2 different colours, hi Louise, going on at the same time, one on one side, one on the other. You could also just use one side and then switch to the other if your tip, because the tips will eventually begin to soften. Having said that, I have a whole stack of them and they're all absolutely usable. The only thing that happens is they will dry up. Once you've had them open, they will dry up over a period of time. I have no idea how long I've had this packet for. Quite a while I suspect, but they'll be absolutely fine. So I've just opened a brand new packet. So you get 3 in a packet, and we used to use blender pens before we had alcohol inks for doing some colouring and blending, hence the name. And it's ideal to use with water-based inks. So that could be watercolor pencils, it could be ink from an ink pad, it could be an ink refill, for example, lots of different things that you could use these for. And if you want a quick stamped and coloured in image, and especially if you don't have blender pens, then this is a great solution to that. So let me just show you some of the easy ways that you can use it. I've just got a few die cut shapes and things here. So for example, Berry Blessings is available free in celebration, and what I could do is pick out this and the little actually that really goes with the berries, doesn't it? But I could put the berries in there. Maybe I need to use this stalk here. Anyway, I'm going to use the leaves. That's what I wanted to use. So if I have the leaves here, I'm just going to pop it onto a block like so. Hello, Jill. Don't tell me it's evening already. I'm still thinking it's afternoon. So I'm just getting out a scrap piece of grid paper. I'll fold this over like here. So it's really easy, and I'll show you some of the things you can do with it. So if you have, it's best with outline images or images that have a small element of shading. You wouldn't really use it for an element that had a lot of shading or infill. Okay, so it's going to ink this up. Doesn't look like there's much ink on that. Oh no, I think there is. Okay, so I've just stamped this image on here, and I can take my blender pen, and as I'm brushing it onto the paper, can you see it's making that ink run? Okay, so basically it's blending that ink into my paper, and obviously when the ink runs out, that will just get lighter and lighter and lighter, like so. So one thing you can do is, as well as that, is take your blender pen and roll it actually onto the ink pad, so that you make this into almost into a Stampin' Right marker. Now if I run it across the paper, can you see it will get lighter, so you get almost the effect of a blends pen. Now when you're using aqua painters, for example, which would get the same effect, you need to use either watercolor paper or shimmer white paper cardstock to stop the paper buckling. Because this doesn't contain water, it's more of a trying to think of the word, it'll come to me in a minute. It's a bit like glycerin, that's the word I was looking for. So you can get some really nice shading, and obviously eventually this will run out. And the way that you clean these is literally to just run them on your paper until they run out of colour. Glycerin, yes, thank you, Deborah. That was the word I was after. So obviously this is just going to keep going. So what I would recommend, especially as they come as a pack of 3, so you've got 6 different coloured tips, is if you do a lot of flowers, for example, you can leave one to be green. You could put a little label on it to say it was green, but you can see obviously on this tip where I put it in the ink pad, it's picked up that colour. So let me show it on a piece of card, because this is quite deceptive on the scratch paper. So let me stamp this again. Hi Jeanette. I hope you're well. So there we've got our leaves, and I think what I'll do is I'll bring this stalk down to this little whatever you want it to be, blackberry, raspberry, whatever. So I'm going to stamp that also in green, like so. Just have that coming down from there, like so, and then I'll pop this on and stamp this in. Let me see, Blackberry Bliss maybe, if I've got enough colour, enough ink in this one. It's rather in need of a bit of TLC. I'll just stamp it on there. Okay, that will do nicely. So the blender pen is going to pick up whatever colour ink it comes into contact with. Okay. There we go. So what I'm going to do, let me cover this up for the minute, is I'm not going to add anything more to this. I'm just going to allow it to pick the colour up from the ink on the paper. Like so. Obviously this is going to be a lighter colour because it is diluted. Okay. But all it's doing is basically moving that colour around. So if you have a stamped image that has got enough colour around the edge, you can use your blender pen, sorry, they sound so similar, don't they, to colour that image in. And I can do the same here, just by drawing again that colour from that tip there. Pop the lid onto that, and then I'm going to switch over here. And then I'm just going to use this, and again it's just literally diluting and moving the ink from where I've run it over onto the blackberry in this case. So if you wanted more depth of colour, you could go over it again, or pick up a little bit of ink and just on the tip, and this tip is quite wet, it's not going to drip, but it is quite wet, so it will soak up really quickly. And if I just put it on here, you can see now that colour, and then you can just blend it out until you get the colour that you want, and then obviously you can go back in. Now just be careful where you've got two colours together, because obviously that can cause the colours to run, because you're adding a wet solution to a water-based ink. Like so. So that's just using, oops, a stamped image and colouring in. I have added more colour by taking the tip to the ink pad and picking up a little bit more colour like that. Okay, so that's one use for the blender pens is just to help you colour in, rather than using Stampin' Up markers, which you may or may not have. So you could do something similar, for example, with this flower here from Floral Essence. I'll just put this one over there. Now you could use an outline stamp and ink that up in StazOn, and then colour with any colour that you wanted, rather than take the colour from here. And it needs to be StazOn because the whole idea is this colour will run for you. So if I take this lovely floral image here and stamp it, for example, in like Mango Melody. So I'm just going to put this in. I'll put it to the side so I can add some leaves and things afterwards. Okay, so there's my Mango Melody image, and I'm going to put a different coloured centre. So this is that little centre colour. Oh, pleasure, Carol. So they really, you know, you can work with them really well and get some good colouring, as you can obviously with aqua painters. But what I like about this is you can use them on basic cardstock, and the difference is it doesn't go through to the back. So if you wanted to put something on the inside of a card, whereas with the alcohol markers the alcohol soaks in, obviously here it doesn't. So I'm thinking I might just put an early espresso middle in there. So I've got to have early espresso somewhere in my session, haven't I? So yesterday we used some little cards and envelopes. I don't know if you saw that. I know some of you were certainly online yesterday. Put that in the middle, like so. Okay, so exactly the same thing. Let's see if I can get rid of enough of this colour. There we go. So that pink has almost gone. It will stain the end, so don't necessarily worry that it's stained. It doesn't mean it's that colour. And as I say, both ends are the same. It just gives you two options. So I can just literally pull out the ink from here. Now you'll see the difference in that there's a lot less ink moving around. In fact, I'm not even sure that I can see it, but I'm not even sure that you can. And that's because these lines here are very fine and therefore only contain a small amount of ink. These lines here are quite thick, and therefore as it goes down there is more ink laid down. So if you find you're using your blender pens and nothing is really happening, that is because there's not enough ink laid down to move around. So in that case you could go back in either with the same colour, and I just tend to roll the tip like so. Give it a chance to soak it up. You could also use multicolours in this way. So you could have a stronger inside and a lighter edge. It will also make a difference depending on how much ink you have in your ink pads. Okay. Obviously, if you've got a really inky ink pad, or you've refilled it more recently, you'll get more ink moving around. Now, there does come a limit that the ink isn't going to move anymore. Okay, just because you've utilised enough of the ink, and there's only so much ink that's going to go around. That's okay, Christine. No apology needed. So we're just working with blender pens today and ink pads. I'm also going to do some with watercolour pencils in a second. So just literally blending that out in the same way that potentially you might use a blends pen. But as I say, it's not going to go through to the other side. It will stay on that page, and you can get an effect of the blends pens by using, you know, more ink behind where you would have a shadow, for example. Now what I have to be careful of is if I'm going over this brown area, okay, that's going to pick up the early espresso. So I'm only going to do that when I've finished this bit of colouring. So now I can go into that early espresso and just drag that out a little bit to cover my little gap from when I stamped it. Okay, so can you see the effect? It's much more subtle, definitely, than the blends pens, but you can get a really good effect, and you can do exactly the same thing with our Stampin' Up markers. So you can see how much ink is still on here. Okay, and that's because I dipped it into the ink pad. If I was just picking up the ink from around there, there wouldn't be as much ink on there. So let me show you how that also works with our watercolour pencils. Now, our watercolour pencils are also something that tends to get overlooked. I have a mixture here because we have two sets of watercolour pencils. Needless to say, mine are all mixed up. So they do have the Stampin' Up colours, Rich Raspberry, Daffodil Delight, Basic Grey. You can see which I use the most, can't you? There's a surprise. Man and Mambo, yes, and Daffodil Delight. They're the ones that I use the most. And obviously with these you can just sharpen them to get them to a point again and start working with them. So let's just pick up, it's got Man and Mambo and Daffodil Delight. So I'm just going to stamp an image and show you how the blender pen, I was going to do something different, but actually this that stamp will work. I'm going to stamp it in STAZON. Have a look. Now, some of these need refilling, so I hope I haven't picked, oh no, oops, thrown it around. Dear, dear. Okay, inking this up. So StazOn is a permanent ink. You can use it on all sorts of different surfaces, but the colour won't move round with either the watercolour pencils, the Stampin' Right markers, or the Ben's pen. I know this is not really the right shape, but let's maybe do 3 going off. There's one. Try not to drop this again. So I hope everybody is keeping well today. So, do one more. There we go. Like so. Put the lid on. Got ink enough as it is. And then I can use my watercolour pencils to colour in my flowers. Now you do want to make sure that your StazOn ink is dry. I can see it's very slightly still wet, so I'm just going to find my heat gun, which was here only yesterday. I don't know what I've done with it. Okay, so I won't use my heat gun. I'll just go with the flow. I think I did this one first. So with your watercolour pencils, oh yes, so I mean a lot of people may have watercolour pencils from when you were younger or from the family. I mean you can pick up watercolour pencils very inexpensively. Obviously our ones are colour matched, but they're still just watercolour pencils at the end of the day. So with watercolour pencils there's lots of techniques, and I can assure you I am absolutely no artist, so I'm not giving you a full watercolour pencil technique class, I promise you. But I just want to show you the effect that the blender pen as an aqua painter would have on watercolour pencils. So if I just take that, here it is, but I've lost it then. The way that I test how much liquid I've got left in my watercolour, in my blender pen, is just rub it on my finger, and if I can see it's damp, then I know there's plenty of liquid in there. And then all I'm going to do is basically spread this watercolour, and you see it's having a similar effect. It's just moving the watercolour onto the paper, so it's just softening that drawn image. Yes, I know the Derwent ones are very good. I think there's quite a few good brands of watercolour pencils. So you see how that's really blended that pencil into the flower. Oh yes, the flower. Talking of flower, it's Pancake Day today, so I wonder who's having, for Shrove Tuesday, who's having pancakes later. Here's Rich Raspberry. And I think the thing is with watercolour pencils, they last so long, don't they? I mean, I must have had these, not all of these, but some of these watercolour pencils for, I don't know, 8-10 years. Because we had, I remember Stampin' Up having watercolour pencils when I first joined. So this is Rich Raspberry, so I'm just putting a darker layer behind. And you can see the brush marks of the pencil, and then you'll see that those will blend out afterwards. Now you could use a paintbrush with this, but you must make sure that you're using a watercolour card. So this is where the blender pen comes into its own, because you're not adding water, you're just adding whatever it is, glycerine or something. So again, just going to take my blender pen and then just move that ink around. Like so. And obviously you can really build up the colour for this. As I say, I am no expert by any way, shape or form, but it does give a really nice soft effect. I know it's supposed to leave some white and stuff. So this is ink here. This is watercolor pencil. Okay, now obviously this is stays-on ink in black. You could use a coloured ink, so I could have used Melon Mambo. That would have worked, and that would have bled some of the colour out from the flower if you wanted it to. Oh, it'll be 11 years in July, 2nd of July 2010 I joined. So I celebrated my 10 years last summer. Let's have a go with a little bit of this one here. So Daffodil Delight. Looks like some of these need a bit of sharpening. But the thing is, for watercolour, you want them quite soft. Something else you can do is pick up the ink from the watercolour pencil straight onto your blender pen. So I'm going to try and make this one a little bit deeper. So what you can do is take your blender pen straight to your watercolour pencil in the same way that you can to the ink pad, and build that up that way. So it really just depends on your medium, really, whether you like to use inks or watercolour pencils. So basically use a blender pen with anything that is water based, so that you can move it around the paper but without requiring watercolour paper. What colour central flower, I wonder, I'm going to put in there. So I will cover the new gilding flakes. I'm just waiting on a delivery for mine. So I will cover that, and I'll also cover our shimmer paint this week. Oh gosh, no, it's the honest answer, Christine. I can't remember what the in colours. And also we've had a couple of colour changes as well, where they've revamped the you know, the basic colour families. So I'm afraid I can't remember. I remember some of the colours, but it's amazing how quick you forget them. Okay, I need to sharpen this a bit. Let me just see if I could add. What have I got in here? Rather an odd mix of colours in this one. Hi, Yuta. So the answer is it's a glycerin type mixture, which is colourless. There are Stampin' Up don't supply the refills for these. You can replenish them. There is somewhere a recipe for the mixture, but to be honest, I've had most of mine for at least 5-6 years. So if you just use one at a time, when it gets really dry, you can keep it and use it with other things. So you can dip it into water and things like that, but I would just throw them away at that point. Sorry, I shouldn't say that really, but because they last so long. So let me just see. I want a brighter colour in the middle here. Pumpkin pie or calypso coral would do nicely. All right, yeah. So this was a packet I've had for certainly a while, and I have just opened them and they're fine. But yes, I think they will. Once you've broken the seal, I think they will dry up quite quickly if you're not, you know, using them regularly. Just bring in a little bit of orange here. As I say, I'm not an expert. They do last a long time. They do indeed. And these are great for crafting on the go as well, because you know, it's a minimal amount of supplies that you need. You know, watercolor pencils. You could have your stamped images with you. So dare I say you were going on holiday somewhere. You could have a whole series of stamped images. Take a pack of watercolor pencils and a pack of blender pens, and you could sit and colour in to your heart's content. Like so. So Christine, you're... Oh yes, what is the recipe? Well, the honest answer is I don't know, but I'm sure it involved glycerin and water. And you pull the tip out here and refill it, but I've just never bothered. I didn't really see the point. Tammy bought glycerin and tried to decant it into there. I think that would be enough, really. But yeah, so it's a good way of colouring without taking too much stuff with you. Yeah, I think it is a diluted glycerin. I'm pretty sure it's glycerin and an element of water, but it doesn't actually say what it is. I know it's non-acid, I know that, there's no xylene in it, but it doesn't say exactly what the content is. Just want to do this one, might do this with a Melon Mambo Centre. And Christine, your parcel of goodies is on its way to you, just so that you know. I'll send you the tracking number for it. Do you still want? Yes. Oh, bless you. You don't, I'm not really sure that I'm that therapeutic to watch. I'm really not. But I do know what you mean. I do. That is one thing I'd like to do, is do some proper watercolor classes or something. Not necessarily to be able to draw, but be able to colour in better. Let's just do this one. What do you want we have? We'll do a bit of Bermuda Bay. Now you can see I've used that one. Look at the tip on that. I'm going to go for it. So this is our blend the pen session. So watercolour, you can use it with inks, you can use it with Stampin' Up markers as well. As I say, get a pack of 3. I would be tempted just to use what you need of one, you know, 1 or 2 markers, rather than have, unless you're doing a very complicated thing with lots of different colours, because you can just get rid of the colour, as you can see fairly quickly. That is going from the pink. So don't be too yeah, you just don't need to have too many on the go, I would say. It's also good for children to use. Obviously they've got to be enough of an age to be able to have the dexterity, but with you know, watercolor pencils and things, they're less likely to I hesitate to say make a mess, but videos still available. Videos. Oh, for Hydrangea Hill, I presume you mean. The videos are all still there, and all being well, our live class, if you can make it, will be on Saturday. There we go. Let's put Coastal Cabana in the middle, I think. These are my original watercolor pencils. See if any of these colours have gone out, but they haven't, interestingly enough. And these are more recent, because this has got Granny Apple Green and Balmy Blue on it. Oh, this might be a brand new pack. Oh, it is. Okay. Let's see if I can find Coastal Cabana. This might be Bermuda Bay. Coastal Cabana. This Saturday, that is correct. That is correct. Okay, so let me know if there's anything else in the catalogue that you want me to cover, assuming that I have it, obviously, to be able to demonstrate it. So I am going to do shimmer paints. I am going to do the new gold leafing. let me know if there's anything else you'd like me to cover specifically. There we go. So I am going to pop some leaves into there. I've got this little one here. Let me see if that will fit. Just going to tuck it in there and there. So that's the main part of the deck. Oh gosh, it's doesn't time fly when you're having fun? I can't believe the time already. Let me grab my green ink pad again. No, I didn't. I didn't see it this week. I often watch it, but I didn't this weekend. Actually, I might do this in. Stays on after all that, sorry. Just so it matches my flowers. And as you can see, that hasn't gone through at all onto the back. So that is one really good thing about using the blends pens. The blender pen. They need to come up with a new name, don't they? Oh, gloss paper. Yeah, that's a good. Not even sure we still do gloss paper, do we? There we go. Gloss paper. What do we used to do with that? So we used to use inks and move the inks around, because the nice thing about gloss paper is it doesn't absorb the ink straight away, does it? Green pencil I need. Some kind. Put in there. Old olive. Oh, you can tell the difference. See, that's obviously a very old one, look. Oh, we're on it. Oh, wow. Silverfish pendant. How very exciting. Was that an old one that they re-released, Christine, or was it an original one? I'll have to have a look and see. I'm just finishing off this here. So you can see I'm literally just scribbling that old olive. Well, I hope they got the result they wanted and that it was worth what they estimated it to be. There we go. Oh, between look. Oh, okay. So still quite relatively recent then. That's good. Brilliant. Oh, I'll have to look at that. So that was this weekend's one. I'll have to hunt it out and watch it on iPlayer Replay. Oh, very exciting. I don't think I know anybody that's been on Antiques Roadshow. I know Bargain Hunt come to Brackley quite frequently. They're often filming here. There we go. So that is the world of the blender pen. Get it right, girl. So 3 in a pack. From memory, they're $11.25 for all 3. Oh, that's good. Well done, Christine. So they come as a pack like that, and I would recommend you keep them in the pack and sealed when you're not using them, because obviously they'll last a bit longer. And then these I would just turn into little gift cards or tags. So there's this one here. This one I'll probably put onto a note card. Might be able to use one of the love cards actually from yesterday. Just wondering what I did with them. Here they are. Let me see if it will fit on here. It might be the wrong. Stripy one might work though. Or even on that side. There we go. Put that to use. So I'm just going to fold this one over. And I'm going to use this side of it for my little card. Probably put a sentiment on there, and then that leaves the pretty side on the back. So let's do that. There we go. So actually I should have put that on dimensionals, but it will do the job. I'll put it higher and put a little sentiment underneath. There we go. And have I got anything in those sets that would make it worth? Bountiful Blessings, maybe. There we go. Let's just see if one of these nice sentiments from Vine Design would fit on here. So Thinking of You might fit. Let's have a look. Why not? There we go. I'll finish that one off, and then basically we're done. So you're welcome to stay while I finish off, but equally if you've seen enough and have pancakes to make, then I understand. So is anybody making pancakes tonight? I've got a team business meeting tonight. So this is from Vine Design. This is going to appear in my next month's class. Let me just see if I got this straight. Yep. Yeah, it says that there's still 8 people here. So pancakes for those that fancy it. I will be. I love pancakes. And I'm a lemon and sugar person, I have to say. Ah yes, of course, you would have crepe. No pancakes for Carol. There we go. Thinking of you. So I'll just show you very quickly. This is part of the design for my next class, and that's using these fantastic die cuts from Vine Design. This is 2 of the 3 die cuts. If I put them flat, might be better. They're absolutely stunning, and I'm teaming. So this is the stamp set that goes with it. Congratulations, thinking of you, sympathy, birthday, hello, and thank you. So a bit of everything, and these lovely images as well. The dies cut out those images, but also 3 fantastic dies, like so. They won't necessarily be in balmy blue, they just happen, seaside spray rather, that just happened to be the colour that was there. Oh, lemon and sugar, lemon and sugar. Maple syrup, lemon and sugar. Oh, Cointreau in Christine's. Okay, so details about that class will come out soon. And the other class in a box parcels are all on their way. The local ones will be delivered. And that's it. I've whittled on enough. So I hope you like the little bit of information I've given you about the blender pens. So if you have them in your stash, please do use them. Get them used. And if you haven't, you could consider adding that to your next order, whether you're replacing it yourself or through a demonstrator such as myself. But I'm pleased with that little card. That's very cute. I might have to add a bit of bling, so I'll do that, but in the meantime I will let you all go. So nice to have lots of people join me. Thank you, always appreciated. I'm going to grab some dinner, give the dog a walk around the block, and then it'll be ready for my team business meeting. So thank you so much for joining me, everybody. Appreciate your time. I do hope you can stay well, stay safe, look after your family, look after yourselves. Oh, just in Christine's message, yes, I don't know who Stampin' Up ones are made by. I suspect not Derwent, but you know, there we go. I don't know that for sure. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I'll catch up with you tomorrow, and I'll be back tomorrow at 10 in the morning. I hope you can join me. Thank you so much. Keep crafting. Bye bye.